It really doesn't feel like I'm worth 18 minutes of time. I have been thinking of shrinking that down and just all I have to do is make sure that there is an update of some sort of what I'm up to. And again, pulling into a 20-minute mark is just not going to happen. At the same time, there's just way too much insecure time which I have on my hands. I have to prove to myself okay, I'm doing this like everyone else. Although it is not exactly, I'm gonna throw realism out of the window, but at the same time I am not reading from a script. I'm just a little bit prepared, a little bit more accelerated to make sure that I get the points out, and then I naturally don't get the points out, so that will inspire another video and another, blah blah blah. Anyways, we got the Creeper's Forge story where the hero is now ready to head into the Creeper's Forge. I was thinking of concept of how the game is going to look like, and obviously village rebuilding part is a little bit stupid, metaphorically perhaps. If you take that as a metaphor, you make the village a lot safer by your knowledge, or it's just a feeling. Metaphorically, you can come up with any kind of theory why I would have done the Creeper's Forge, where you focus on rebuilding the village instead of actually... you can say, oh, the hero is becoming stronger and he would be able to protect the village, and he thinks of, what am I getting myself into? It's so difficult, these areas are so intense, right? If I put Creeper's Forge into a game, we see a bunch of grinding, a bunch of RNG, RPG elements. Jesus Christ, RNG has invaded my head. I've been playing Gwent for a while, for these 2 past days when I have to recover after a lot of work. Seems my recovery has been 2 days rather than 1. It's unbelievable how difficult, and I'm still busted. I still feel a little busted. It seems normal, but not really. Perhaps it was because I didn't went to shop early enough. I should have done that yesterday. So I busted myself a little bit. Oh well. So the hero gets into some very difficult areas, I suppose. I don't see, what I'm talking about. I'm gonna cut off the village rebuilding part for sure if I was to make a game, because that is a really difficult part. It's very interesting to see things upgrade, and I always kept that same mentality, right? The story is so important. Seeing things grow is very important. And seeing things die, as we have seen with the Creeper's Forge. When it's gonna die already? Well, it dies, but it kind of creates another version of it. And you kind of seen the version so far. I went into trying to remake Minecraft a little bit, trying to dig into mechanics. I always loved kind of outdoing others' mechanics, and that's what I've been doing, doing something new that I have never experienced myself, but also doing it through programming, where I kind of have the ownership and control. That's pretty fun. Also, sorry for the lighting, because My phone is just stupid. Okay, it's just stupid. I can't even make calls. I don't even know if it records sound properly right now. I will check, and if it's out, I will okay. At least you didn't fuck that part. Because I cannot make calls and the receiver doesn't hear anything. That is just ridiculous stuff. There's so many little things in my life that just happened that are kind of out of control a little bit. It happens, but what makes life interesting. And at the same time, I was thinking while I was working a lot about relationships. It's gonna be my 7th episode, even though now they are 12 minutes, let's say. The 7th episode, 7th four last episodes are gonna be about relationships. How relationships are exchanges between the man and the women all the time throughout the age of lifespan. They just simply exchange self-esteem because they have to do different tasks, and at different times of their lives they have to perform better, right? So let's say I didn't have to perform very much. I detached from the school, I was lazying around, and now I will kind of have to rise up again. It's kind of the idea of the first part. Every single night I was like, out of 2 nights, in the end I find this insight. And the second insight was, the love comes from boredom, that stupid people love more than smart. They don't have as many kids. Nikola Tesla didn't even have a girlfriend, huh? Did he? Wife, for sure. Girlfriend, probably. But I'm not sure what his views, what smart people's views are. I know what my view is, and now I know kind of how it works, that stupid people are bored and they simply seek for this kind of thing that everyone does. And that's what love is a thing that everyone does. And it's very stressful. There's a lot of adventure in there, and for smart people it's just too fucking difficult. For me it's just too difficult. But it's difficult enough where I'm puzzled and challenged to figure out what it is, how it works, how it's supposed to work, and still never do it, right? I will know everything about it, and I'll never do it, just like programming. Hopefully that's gonna change, right? Hopefully lazing around is gonna flip upside down. So let's finish up the story. The hero gets into the Creeper's Forge. He builds a base. Now, in the game, you will be able to make small bases. You're gonna check, okay, trader, whatever. I guess his name is Mark or something. So you're gonna mark him to a location so he will come into your base. Similar to like Terraria. Yeah, you build a room and all of a sudden a trader can come in. Very similar mechanic basically. It's almost like top-down Terraria if I look at it that way. I don't have to make it top-down. Otherwise it would be a little bit too similar and raise a lot of expectations. And it would incorporate a lot of mining. So, I don't know. I just don't look at it that way yet. I look at it top down at the moment. Because I care about the combat system at the moment. And there is not supposed to be a lot of mining in the first place. It was like a side activity that you could do in the Creeper's Forge. But that side activity is pretty huge. I mean, you have the torches and all that crap. Alright, so yeah, I'm not sure how I'll handle the creeper's explosion, how much damage to the terrain is going to do, because it's top down after all. It should be pretty straightforward. There's going to be a depth limit where creepers are not going to damage anything anymore, and you can still get out without much trouble. You can dig your way out to not get stuck in the game. Alright, so that's it. Now, rebuilding the Creeper's Forge is a little bit trickier. So that'll be the ending, I guess. That's where I'm gonna cut the game off. Oops. You approach the Creeper's Forge, oops. You lost control of your character all of a sudden. Now, Herobrine, once you enter the Creeper's Forge, when the hero enters the Creeper's Forge, Herobrine strikes the forge. It opens the portal to some Endermen, and they try to attack, successfully kind of release the hero because he gets trapped immediately. But at the same time, new creepers are released that explode into water, and Endermen hate water, and that's a simple counter to that. And then Enderman just back off. And didn't actually successfully ambushed the Creeper's Forge. Although that was the intention as well. It's very interesting how Endermen work. They directly counter the Creepers. It almost makes you think that, okay, whoever is in charge of the Enderman is kind of trying to destroy Creepers. It's like Enderman could really easily detach Creepers' heads or detonate them and then teleport away from the explosion when it happens. Stuff like this, right? It's so easy for them to handle this situation. Although in Minecraft you never see any fights between mobs, besides wolves being a little bit hostile. So you get into the Creeper's Forge as a hero. You choose to dig deeper once the ambush happens, and then you encounter Mr. Creep and you exchange your own stories. With a little bit of struggle, the hero kind of gives up on destroying the Creeper's Forge, and now he's creating a relationship with Mr. Creep and trying to convince him that shit is not right. But for him to do that, he will have to collect enough stories, collect enough evidence that creepers are doing something bad, right? What actually the creepers are doing, and Mr. Creep is like, wow, I would love to know that, but I'm just here in the Creeper's Forge. I'm just working, you know. I would love to know what kind of impact my stuff does, but I can't. The parallel between this story and real world is really intense. Like, a lot of people do a lot of work and don't know what actually is happening behind the scenes. Some things are revealed when people play the game, live stream the game and all that crap. And even simple people like us are interested as well, but more like interested into engaging deeper into the game when we watch. For example, I watch a lot of Hearthstone videos, it might, what the fuck was that? It might bring the idea of what you can do in the game. So there's a point of watching those videos. But as a creator, it's kind of tough to know exactly what kind of impact you're making, to be on the right path, to get enough information. So it's kind of that's the metaphor of the Creeper's Forge. You're the creator, and you have to make sure that you know of full effect of all the consequences of your work, and that's very interesting. All right, so we're gonna reset all the stories real quick. Not sure how that's gonna work, especially with the third story, which is unknown so far. Am I gonna talk about love again? Am I gonna talk about the previous story? It's supposed to be about the future. I don't know. I still don't know. After all these fucking efforts that No. I mean, I did talk about friend zones, like figuring out the mechanics behind the future's relationships. That is interesting. How do you make relationships interesting enough where stupid people and smart people have equal amount of engagement, and at the same time it's like, do we have to do it that way? Is love so that important? Because there's still something more to it, right? If you combine the idea of boredom and self-esteem, like self-esteem is so big, self-love is self-esteem, and if there's some kind of exchange going on, you have to really understand that you just cannot be detached at all. There's just something hidden. I will try to uncover in a few more episodes. So we did hit 80 minutes basically, and I didn't felt like I was dragging you too much. So success, guys, a lot of success. I mean, I remember when I did the blackboard videos, and these are gorgeous blackboards that I just looked back into. I'm like, wow, I really made this stuff. I would really want to come back and do stuff where I really feel like looking back and feeling the consequences, guys. That is the shit. You gotta feel the consequences of your work sometimes. Get the real feedback, not just likes and dislikes. Fuck that shit. You got the real consequences. Tell your story. That's the whole important point. The consequence. I mean, who? That's another thing. But get the fuck out of here.